Good evening from Los Angeles and good morning to our speaker and viewers in Indonesia. Welcome to our first ever webinar event from IABC, Indonesian American Business Council. Many believe that the business environment is always evolving. New technology is constantly changing consumer demands and preferences. With this pandemic, many businesses are being forced to make drastic decisions in adapting to the new era at a much faster pace while making the time to market themselves as well. I believe if we want our business to have the best possible chance to work through the virus, we need to evolve, meaning that we need to embrace the change with the time. Today, we have a few distinguished panelists with us. Let me introduce you to Harry Chow from AFM Furniture and AABC President. And next, we have Fred Latuperisa from Exim 2020. We also have Bruce Lee from Hippocampe. We also have Ngok Ting Nguyen from United Business Bank and John Oi from Kabari News. And myself, Jen Wibowo from First Way Insurance, and I will be the moderator for the today event. Before we start, I would like to give the time for Mr. Harry as the president of IABC to say a few words.
Good evening from Los Angeles and good morning from Indonesia. And first of all, I would like to say thank you to Iwan for your time. Actually, Indonesia early morning, so you have a time to talk and sharing his experience with all of us. And IABC is the vision of IABC is expanding Indonesian and American business potential. And the mission is to promote the interests of Indonesian and American businesses and professionals by bridging and utilize potential resources through networking between its member and affiliated. Furthermore, as we move forward with our organization goals, our effort will be focused in the following area: to provide an efficient channel of communication for information pertaining to the trade and the businesses, opportunities between Indonesian and American businesses, to promote better understanding and insight of Indonesian businesses between the United States and the international business community, to assist professionals between their business and development needs as it relates to Indonesian and American business in the United States. Uh, that's our mission. So welcome to everybody. If you would like to join, and please contact us or maybe contact with Jen Wibowo. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Hari. Today we have a special speaker, a marketing guru, Iwan Setiawan, CEO of Mark Plus Inc. and co-author of two marketing books, Marketing 3.0 and Marketing 4.0, available at Amazon. Iwan graduated as a Master of Business Administration with major in marketing from the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University. He also won award for the top 50 inspirational alumni from Universitas Indonesia in 2014 and the most outstanding practitioner lecturer from School of Business and Management from Institut Teknologi Bandung in 2018. He has over 15 years of consulting and market research experience and is editor-in-chief of Marketeers and a lecturer at the School of Business and Management Institut Teknologi Bandung. Thank you, Mr. Iwan, for sharing your valuable time and knowledge with us today. We are lucky to have you. With this, I would like to present you Iwan Setiawan. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jane, for the wonderful introduction. Good evening, everyone, and good morning for fellow Indonesians watching this. Thank you so much for having me. Today, I'm going to share a brief overview of one of my books. It's called Marketing 4.0. It's about marketing in digital world. So allow me to share the screen for you. Okay, so So the book is called Marketing 4.0, Moving from Traditional to Digital. This is based on our experience doing consulting for many years. And this is published, this was published in 2017, so about 3 years ago. We are at this moment writing a sequel to this book. It's called Marketing 5.0. So this book is part of a series of, I should call it a trilogy because it started with 3.0 and then 4.0 and then 5.0. So it's a trilogy, and we have just completed the manuscript for the finale of the trilogy, the 5.0. So let me share briefly about what we mean by moving from traditional to digital. I think everyone is experiencing behavior change these days due to the pandemic. The COVID-19 has forced everyone to go digital at some point, to some certain extent, and so that gives the digitalization a big boost. In the past, I mean, before the pandemic, some people are still in the comfort zone of not having to buy things online. Some people are not really into online content and so on and so forth. But at this point, they have no choice. And so digitalization is actually accelerating as we speak. So let me go to the next slide. So just an intro to what we mean by marketing 4.0. I'm going to talk about in the first part some of the key challenges that marketers or business people are experiencing in recent years. So there are 5 challenges. We'll go one by one. And then I need you to think through and also reflect on your own businesses, whether or not you experience these challenges and what it means to you, the impact, and so on and so forth. So the first challenge that most people are experiencing right now is the battle for attention. What I mean by battle of attention is that we are surrounded by lots of information. We are surrounded by lots of content. Some people are really addicted to Netflix. Some people are really addicted to their smartphones. They couldn't stop doing WhatsApp, and they couldn't stop browsing online and so on and so forth. So it's a very enriched environment for many people. People are getting knowledgeable. They're they're empowered because everything is transparent. But at the same time, it drives people crazy because they simply don't have the capacity to process all that information. As we know, the attention span for a human is on average 8 seconds, and that's really poor because every 8 seconds we kind of reset our mind and we can focus longer than that. And so if we remember advertising 101, where in the past we have 30-second ad or TVC, um, then today, in today's era, advertisers are having difficulty because, if you have if you have an ads that is not interesting in the first 8 seconds, people will drop off and they wouldn't be able to understand the message you're trying to convey. They wouldn't know your brand. They will have difficulty understanding the features of your product. So 8 seconds is a very short window for people to for marketers to grab people's attention. And even with YouTube, for example, with YouTube ads, they kind of shrink it a bit further into 5 seconds. Now, in 5 seconds, if you're not interested in the ad, you can just skip it. So it's a skippable advertising world, and that brings a lot of difficulty for a lot of people. And this is not only for advertising world. If you're a salesperson, right, trying to sell something, you come in and meet the prospect you're trying to convert. You're having difficulty because you need to grab that attention really fast. It's even faster than the standard elevator test where you have at least 15, 30 seconds of time to convince your prospect that it's worthwhile to talk to you. Now it's only 8 seconds, and that's even more challenging. And a lot of people, when they have this sort of information, with lots of information, with only small capacity to process it, the tendency is just to forget about it and ignore it completely. So that's one of the challenges. And I'm going to move on to the second one. The second one is, I think everyone experiences this. I've presented this to lots of people in several countries, and all of them experience what we call generation gap. Um, um, like it or not, at this moment, we have 5 generations living on Earth together, and they're not exactly aligned in terms of needs, in terms of preferences. And so to be able to become a business that serve all 5 needs is going to be very challenging. And let me explore further why it's challenging to serve all these people. The first and probably oldest generation living today is called baby boomers. Of course, this whole notion of baby boomers started in the US in the mid 40s, whereby after the war, a lot of people are having new families, they have kids, and so there's a big baby boom. A lot of people are having kids. The demographic boom happens during those times. And these people are now already very very much more mature, and they, in I think globally, not only in the U.S. or Indonesia, baby boomers they hold probably the majority of assets, financial assets in banks, in in businesses. So lots of business owners, lots of entrepreneurs, and successful ones as well are baby boomers. They have all the money, they have all the assets, but they are not necessarily digital savvy, right? So in today's era, this is a challenging moment. You cannot meet them. They want to meet you. They prefer a face-to-face interaction when you market to them, but you can meet them right now because of the restrictions. And so this is very challenging. And not only that, if baby boomers, if they have children, their children will be Gen Y. This middle one here, the Gen Y is the children of baby boomers. Basically, Gen Y have been talked about for over 10 years. A lot of people are talking about millennials. A lot of people talk about Gen Y, and they are maturing right now. It's not, the millennials are no longer young people that used to hang out in Starbucks or in coffee shops doing nothing. The oldest millennials today is nearing 40. So they're just a little bit under 40, but they're more mature right now, and they are probably in their 15 year in their career. So millennials are actually quite, it's an attractive segment in terms of buying power because they have the money as well. And not only they have the money, even though their money is not as large, or their assets not as large as the baby boomers, but the Gen Y have that purchasing power. And not only that, they're also quite digital savvy, because when they grow up, the internet was rising. So they have this combo between the purchasing power and also um, the digital savviness. But the problem is that baby boomers and Gen Y are completely different segments. And if you target one of them, the other one will feel that you're unattractive. So if you have like a value proposition, a certain value in trying to deliver to the baby boomers, if they like it, the Gen Y will hate it, because they will think that that's the value proposition that my dad will buy, so I wouldn't buy. So that's the problem. You have to create two separate products. You have to create two separate propositions for both segments. And that is the biggest challenge, because not every company has a large portfolio of products. It's sandwiched in between those segments, right? And I think this is the almost forgotten segment. It's called the Gen X, and the Gen X are the people that are in the middle of baby boomers and Gen Y. They are often called the forgotten middle child, because Business people tend to focus more on the baby boomers, focus more on the millennials. They tend to forget about Gen X. In fact, this Gen X is actually very important because they hold more than half of the leadership roles in corporation. And if you see all the list of successful entrepreneurs, tech startups, or young entrepreneurs, most of them are in the Gen X age range, right? So these guys are the next leader in command of businesses. So they're quite important, but unfortunately, they're almost forgotten. And if this Gen X have children, their children will be the Gen Z. These are the children of Gen X. And Gen Z is very, very popular because they are exactly the first digital natives, which means that uh, they're born with internet already a mainstream thing. So they don't know what it's like to live without internet. They only know living with internet. So at one point in their lives, if they have no access to internet, they'll go crazy because that's their life. It seems that the digital and physical world is inseparable in their mind. They call it phygital, physical and digital hybrid. So it's inseparable in their mind. And so if I live without internet, I'll probably go crazy. So that's the Gen Z. And if the millennials have children, the children of millennials will be called Gen Alpha. And Gen Alpha are the kids that are born after 2010. So they're the oldest Gen Alpha will be 10-year old. And this segment is really unique in the sense that uh, you know uh, you probably know there are some 6-year-olds that who don't actually know how to read yet. They don't know how to read text and so on and so forth, but they can play mobile phone games. They can play mobile games. They can play console games because they understand if there's a two button, one yellow, one green. If I press the green, it says yes. If I press the red, it says no. If I see an arrow pointing to the right, I press that. It'll go next to the next page. So they understand visual language. They understand visual interface, and so their language is actually visual. And so if you're trying to track these children later in their productive age, and you give a bunch of information on flyers or brochures that are too wordy, they won't even attempt reading it because they don't really like that sort of language. Their language is visual. They like straight to your face visual graphics and straight to the point messages. And so we have, as I mentioned in the beginning, 5 different preferences, 5 different sets of needs. And if you have to address that as a company, having 5 different products, it's going to be very challenging because those products, some of them are the complete opposite in terms of features, in terms of how you sell them. So that is problem number 2. So let me move on to problem number 3. It's called digital divide. A lot of people say this is the digital world, everything's going digital and so on and so forth. But, for people living in the US or people living in Indonesia, we're not as digital as we think we are. Because if you go to China, it's really, really digital because, you can pay in a store with facial recognition. Those things are not mainstream yet in the US or Indonesia. People are still experimenting with those things in the US, but in China, they probably do it on a regular basis. So in most countries, we still have digital divide because we still have baby boomers. Uh, Most of them are not comfortable with technology. Most of them are not comfortable going online. There's a big difference between having access to internet and being digital. There's a big difference. Having access to internet, having a high-speed broadband internet in your home and being able to use it productively is completely different. Some people have access to it, but they just simply are not digital enough in terms of the behavior. They might have the fanciest phone in their pocket, but they don't know how to use it. So there is this big digital divide where people are not really comfortable going digital, and the pandemic has forced them to embrace this. So it has to be forced. It doesn't come as naturally as we expect it to be. So in digital divide, there are two sets of customers that are growing. Number one is the people that we say are doing web rooming. You can see on the screen here on the left. Web rooming is the behavior of people who search online. So they browse and they research products online, and then once they figure out what to buy, they buy in store. They figure out where to buy it, where to get it, and then they buy in store. So web rooming has been uh, is a big trend among the consumer shoppers, right? Most automotive purchase, I think in the US and in Indonesia and in many parts of the world, are web rooming. A lot of people are now avoiding having test drive. They just go online looking for product reviews, compare a bunch of car models, and then when they decide, they go in store. So for car salesmen, that brings a lot of problem because now they couldn't cheat, they couldn't lie. Everybody's fully knowledgeable about what they want to buy. And when they come to them, they already decided. So you can swing them to other products that you want to sell to them. So that is one aspect. It's not only in automotive, in across sector, a lot of people are browsing online before they decide to buy and go into the store. In a more lifestyle thing, if you collect sneakers, for example, a lot of people are, researching sneakers online, and then they line up during the launch in store. And so that is a web rooming phenomenon. And according to McKinsey research last year, globally, 44% of purchase behaviors are web rooming. So 44% of the people are actually doing web rooming now. And on the other side of that, on the right, we see showrooming. People are experiencing product in store. If they try on clothes, try on shoes, and everything else, something they need to have a good fit. They experience it in store. They want to have a touchy-feely experience on that product. Once they are convinced that I want this product, I know the sizing and everything else, I just buy it online because it's on discount or it's on a really great price. So a lot of people are showrooming for products that you have to feel it before deciding to buy it. And this is, of course, most prominent in apparel industry, where you have to try on the products and then buying it online. And according to the same McKinsey research, this is 23% of the total global transactions, and which means that 44 plus 23, that's 67, which is 2/3 of the global transaction is a hybrid between online and offline, which means that 2/3 of your customers are experiencing some part of their journey in online world and some other parts of their journey in offline world. So they kind of combine it. So 2/3 are already combining it. And the rest, the other 1/3, the other 33%, is actually a really, really digital native, which means that they search online, buy online, and that's quite big as well. But of course, the declining segment will be the people who experience in store and then buying it in store, and that is a very declining segment in today's world. And I think in McKinsey research, it mentioned that this segment, this non-savvy segment, is only less than 4% today. So let me move on to the fourth challenge. And the fourth challenge is about the new CX imperative. So if you look at the innovation in the past decade, past 10 years, most innovation, most volume of innovation is in product feature, this green part here, that has the highest volume. The highest volume is in product feature innovation. But as you see, the irony of this is it creates no sort of value. There's no value in creating those product feature innovation, which means that even though you put lots of features in product and services, the willingness to pay doesn't increase. They don't want to pay more, even though you put more products. And this is happening, I think, in a lot of tech sector as well. Smartphones are getting more sophisticated, but the pricing is basically stable. They're not growing as high, for the exception of Apple products, of course, who are trying to continue to push the value further. But in most product, if you add in more product features, they say that's normal and that is a must. That's a hygiene factor. If you don't do that, we will leave you for competitors. But if you're doing it, I'm not going to pay more anyway. You have to do that. That's a must for you. But that doesn't mean that they have to pay more. So that is a big issue, right? So what are the things that people are more willing to pay more for? And there are two of them. First, the blue one, nobody's attempting business model innovation, but the value is quite high. So if you're trying to create new business models, with the likes of like Uber, the likes of course, Netflix, that killed Blockbuster and so on, those are the new business models. But new business model doesn't come every year, right? Um, People don't get to disrupt industries over and over again because it's not as easy as it sounds. And so the alternative for me is the one on the bottom, which is the new CX. It creates the same value as a new business model, but it's a lot easier to do. So what do I mean by new CX? CX is customer experience. So instead of modifying the product, what we do is that we modify the experience surrounding the product. So if you sell services, if you sell, let's say, insurance, if you sell financial services product, people sometimes don't buy because of that product. They buy it because of you. They buy it because they trust the people who sells them. And it's not about the people per se, it's about the experience that comes with the person. If you're a pleasant enough personality to sell these products, they buy it because that pleasant personality, that pleasant interaction that they're having with you. So that is what I mean by new CX. It gives you a new value without actually modifying the product. So it suits really well with distributors, with traders, people who don't necessarily have new product development under their belt. They simply just sell the things that are given, right? And so what you can do is you add value to those given products, and then you add, uh, a good interaction, you add good customer service, you add great salesmanship, and so on and so forth. It gives you that total customer experience on top of that product. So that is the imperative. Last year I did a session for an agricultural distribution in the U.S. And they like this model a lot because they say, oh, now we have the advantage because prior to that we are relying heavily on the product owner. Now they say the product owner doesn't have as much power as before. We have the power because we're closer to the customer. We create the total experience. The product simply just create the product for us. The product owner just produce and manufacture the product. We sell them. We have the complete, customer service, warranty, after sale services, and so on. So that's challenge number 4. Now challenge number 5. Challenge number 5, it's called the polarizing market. This is the last challenge. And in polarizing market, and this is a very simple, you can see it on the slide. Let me just start explaining this with an illustration. Starbucks, 30% of Starbucks customer love Starbucks because they say it's a good place to drink coffee, the experience is good, it's a place to see people, to be seen by people. It's a third place, right? Aside from your home and your office. So that's a subset of customer, 30% of them. But 23% actually hate Starbucks. And the reason is something we already know as well. Some say the product is not as good as like specialty gourmet coffee. It's actually fake coffee. Some people say, some people believe that the flavor is more dominant than the coffee itself. So a lot of people are hating Starbucks, right? Likewise, on the right side, McDonald's, 33% says it's delicious, it's practical, it's easy, and it's quick. I am hungry, I can get it, and it's done, and it's delicious. I can feed the whole family on a tight budget, right? So that's quite straightforward. For 33% of the people, they love McDonald's. 29% of people said it's not healthy, it's junk food, it's not really good to feed your children with lots of French fries and so on and so forth. So if you see this chart, it's completely polarizing. You know, the opinions of people towards these two great brands. You know, there is a theory called Net Promoter Score, and Net Promoter Score said you should do the research and figure out how many people love you and how many people hate you, and then you subtract those two numbers. And if you come up with a very low number, it means that you're in trouble. I'm never fond of that theory. I've never really liked those theory because I don't think it's true. Because if you see from this fact, right, 30% minus 23%, that's only 7%. In the case of McDonald's, it's even worse. It's 33 minus 29 is 4%. So they're single digit in terms of NPS or Net Promoter Score. But as you can see, they're thriving. They're a successful business. They're not closing down. They're not in sort of financial trouble. They're growing and they are really successful. Even though you have a big bulk of your customer, a big bulk of your market that hates you, you're still growing because that is what I call the polarizing market. If you are staying true to your core segment and you're not lured to go to other segments or not tempted to pursue other opportunities, you can be a very strong brand because in a digital world, the world is polarizing, and I'm not talking about politics. In politics, we're also polarizing because a lot of people are becoming a true hater of a politician, becoming a true lover of them as well, and they will do everything to promote or to really do black campaigns toward them. But these sort of trend also happens in the market, in the businesses. So if you are staying true to your self, saying that I'm a McDonald, I don't have to create salad, I don't have to create healthy food line, then you're going to be okay. If nobody goes to McDonald's to eat salad anyway, it's like the complete opposite. Why would you go there in the first place if you're trying to have healthy food? So staying true to your roots, not being tempted by other opportunities or other segment, that is the key challenge in today's era. Especially if you talk about Wall Street expectation, if you're large businesses, you talk about expectation of shareholders and so on and so forth. You have to continue to grow and attack other segments aside from your core. Then you're going to be in trouble because to grow in a polarizing market is going to be very, very difficult. So enough with the challenges, enough with the problems. Let me move on to the solutions, some of the key solutions. So this is the first book. This is the first book called Marketing 3.0. And it is now available in 27 edition worldwide. Whenever I go to these countries, I always look for the book because I'm collecting them. And this book was published during my MBA years. In 2010, when I did my MBA in Kellogg School of Management, I actually wrote this book on campus with my professor, Philip Kotler. So at that time, we think that this is the ultimate marketing, and apparently this is just the beginning of a trilogy. And so 7 years later, we published this next book. It's called Marketing 4.0. It's now 24 edition. It's now available in basically globally. And the solution I'm going to talk about is going to be based primarily on what is the content of Marketing 4.0. So let me start with explaining this core model that we have for Marketing 4.0. It's called 5As, and this has been licensed in many countries around the world. A lot of people are using this to, this is an intellectual capital of Mark Plus. It basically says that the customer path to purchase, which means that the journey that people take when they decide to buy a product, follows these 5 steps. Awareness, you know the brand, you are exposed to it, you are attracted to it, you ask question about it to your friends, the salespeople, the call center, and so on. And then you act on it, you buy it, and then if you are satisfied, you advocate it. You recommend the product to others. So that's a simple, generalized view. And in some industries, some people might skip a step or two. But in general, if you want to have a generic view of the journey, this is it, right? And looking at this journey, it's very different from the journey pre-digital. In the digital world, there's this aspect of social really, really high in the customer journey. There's this ask notion, right? In the digital world, people don't decide by themselves. When I bought my car a few years ago, I didn't do a test drive. I called 4 friends of mine that I know has great knowledge of cars, and I asked them, if I have this sort of budget, I want this type of car with this sort of feature, what would be the best option for me? And my friends gave me a few options. I do some research on them, and then I do some browsing, and then I decided to buy the car. So I asked around, and looking at that experience, I now believe that the car that I bought was not my choice because it's my friend's choice. I was influenced by other people's opinion of me. And this is true in lots of other categories. We truly care about what other people think of what we buy. And we sometimes let them decide for us. And why is this the case? It's because not because we are lazy or because we are so eager to impress people. Of course, that's all true. We probably don't have the time to do further research, or we probably don't have time to, to really go through all the options. But the true reason for that is that you simply just don't trust the advertising. You simply don't trust the businesses. What you trust is your friends, the people you trust all your life, your family, your friends. Those are the people that you rely on to make decisions for you. And because you simply don't have the capacity to, you don't have the time, you don't have the memory, you don't have the capacity to process all the advertising, all the brochures, all the options, you rely on others. So you kind of outsource that decision making to your family and friends. You kind of outsource that to your wife, your spouse, your children. You kind of outsource that to your friends and family. And so it makes sense in certain categories whereby the salesperson sells truly to the circle one. Because if you sell to your circle one, they trust you and it's easier to get in. And so that is very, very social and very digital in that sense. So I always said, and this is something I'm going to repeat again, that marketing in digital world is not the same as digital marketing. Marketing in the digital world is not the same as digital marketing. Digital marketing means that you use YouTube, you use search engine marketing, you use Instagram ad, you pay influencer on TikTok, for example. You do all that. It's called digital marketing. But marketing in the digital world, remember, 2/3 of the global transactions are actually hybrid between physical and digital. So physical traditional marketing still makes sense. So marketing in digital world is not only about digital marketing, but it's a combination between traditional marketing and digital marketing. And that's why the subtitle of the book is called Moving from Traditional to Digital, because we're not there yet. We're not at the digital phase yet. We're still moving, because the majority of the asset, as I mentioned, are not digital savvy. The people who have assets, the baby boomers, are not digital savvy enough. And we still need their assets to finance our businesses. So we still have to embrace the traditional marketing in that sense. So having the social aspect, right? A lot of people say, oh, that's not digital marketing. I say, yes, it's not digital marketing, but that's marketing in digital world. And the ask has a pair. If you ask people a question, you have to have someone answering it. So it's called advocacy. So in the last A, in the five A's is advocacy. You want to have people who answer the question. So if I ask my friend, which is the best car, I need someone who actually truly loves certain brands and then recommend it to me, right? Because they're taking risks. They know that I rely on them. I rely on their recommendation for the best product. So they took that personal risk. You know, if I recommend a bad restaurant to a friend of mine, they would say either Iwan has a bad taste in food, or they said Iwan is lying to me. He's trying to prank me. So I have personal risk when giving recommendation. That's why people who are true advocates of certain brands or certain products or certain companies are a loyal customer, because they took personal risks to actually recommend something. And so let me briefly show, and this is why a lot of people license this model around the world, because we have a measurement system. Marketing has to be more accountable, like finance. You know, finance, they have lots of metrics. They have return on investment, return on asset, and so on and so forth. And basically, they have return on everything. It's return divided by X, everything, asset, equity, sales, anything. So we try to learn from that. Everything should be a ratio, right? And if you're looking at productivity as a number, it becomes a ratio, a purchase action ratio and brand advocacy ratio. Let me explore what I mean by that. PAR is purchase action ratio. It's the fourth A divided by the first A. So this measure how many people from the one that knows your brand that actually convert into customer. So if you have 100 people that knows you, 20% of them actually bought the product, then it's 20% par. As simple as that. And what does par means? I'm not going to be too technical on this, but simple as this. And this is something that a lot of business people ask a lot. If I invest something in awareness, if I send out brochures, if I do direct marketing, if I send catalogs out, if I have salesmen to introduce products to others, will I be able to increase my market share? The answer to that, it really depends on how big your par is. If your par is is 50%, then if you boost the awareness by 10%, the market share will only go up by half of that. So the key is not only we should increase the brand awareness, of course, because that's the first stage in the 5As, but the key is actually to increase the conversion of it, and that will be the next step. And then the next metrics will be bar. That is the fifth A divided by the first A. And this, as simple as the par, is the number of people that are going to recommend you from the pool of people that knows you. And again, I'm not going to be very technical about this, but if we do a lot of simple maths, like grade school math, we can kind of break down the formula, right? I kind of like to cross it. And if you kind of break it down into 4 separate formula, and this is the formula for a bar, and this is the simplified one, this is the broken down formula. If you look at this broken down formula, it's actually a step-by-step conversion from the first A to the fifth A. And step number 1 is called attraction. Building attraction is number 1. In businesses, what you do is that you build attraction because that window of 8 seconds that I mentioned earlier, that is your window to create attraction. How do you, if you're trying to sell people with, a stack of documents and you tell them this is what you should do, this is what you should do, you wouldn't get in. What you need to do is you build that first attractions. That's why a lot of business people, when they make deals, when they introduce themselves, they do it on a golf field, they do it in a restaurant during dinner, because that creates the first attraction. You don't go straight to business, you go straight to the first attraction. If they said, I'm interested, tell me more, then you completed the first, you passed the first test. So this is the first one. The second one is called curiosity, right? And how does curiosity work? You don't tell them everything, right? If you tell them everything, there's no curiosity left. You have to leave something to the imagination, and that's what curiosity is all about. So you tease them a bit. You tease them a bit with some information that is probably the most important and the most compelling of all your information. And we should learn from a trailer maker. If you see a movie and you see the trailer, it's fascinating, it's really good. I want to watch this movie simply by looking at the trailer. What most people don't know is all the interesting part of that story is already in the trailer. You don't have to see the movie to like the movie. You just have to see the trailer, because every single cut that is important is already in there, except for the ending, of course. So learning from trailer, you build curiosity by showing just a little part of that information and then leave the rest to imagination. And that is the second step. And the third step will be commitment. You don't want people to ask questions all the time, right, without actually buying it. You want to convert people who are already curious and ask a lot of questions into actual buyer. You want to convert them to buy. So that's the third step, and this is probably the most important step of all, is to build purchase commitment. You buy it. You have to buy it because you have. I've invested my time in explaining it to you, in building attraction, creating curiosity, and whatnot. And then the final one will be, and this is what most salespeople are forgetting. They think that sales is like closing it and then it's done. And that's why they call it sales closing, because it closes there, it closed the door. And good salespeople, great salespeople know it's not the ending, it's not the closing. What they say, sales closing is actually the beginning, because that's the beginning of a relationship. So if you're trying to sell a product, you have to make sure they're satisfied. You have to make sure you put all the total customer experience on top of that really, really well, because you want to create affinity. You want them to trust you long term, and they're gonna buy it from you from time to time. And with that, we have 4 different pillars of marketing 4.0. So if you have problems in attraction, you don't know how to build attraction, the key will be human-centric marketing. If you don't know how to create curiosity, it will be content marketing. If you don't know how to create commitment, it's omni-channel. If you don't know how to create affinity, it's engagement marketing. So let me go through that one by one, and then I'll stop for Q&A. Human-centric marketing. I'm just going to show the full slide here. Sorry. A full human being, a full person, a whole person, is they consist of 6 different attributes. This is the attributes of a human being. Physicality. They say, looks doesn't matter. The inner beauty is the most important. That's all a lie, because a lot of people, first impression is always the most important. Looks is always the most important. If we're looking for a person to spend our lives with, or if we look for products on the shelf, packaging is number 1, looks is number 1. Right? In products, I have a client from Thailand, and they created this special canned food that is gourmet quality, and the chef is cooking it, and it's really good. So we test it. We do blind testing, and the consumer love it. They love it really, really well, and they rank it number 1 compared to the other products that we blind test with. And but when we put it on the packaging, right, and then we put it on the shelf, nobody's actually buying it, because if you are not creating the first impression with the packaging in the first place, they might not know it's delicious inside. They might not know it's good inside if they don't like the one they see from the outside. So that's just one element of physicality. I'm not going to go through all six, but I'm going to briefly touch on upon a very different elements of human being. But you don't want it also to become only looks, right? You want it to have content. You want to have intellectuality, which means that we want substance. We don't want just the style of it. We want the substance. So the product itself doesn't only have to be appealing in terms of the visuals, but it has to have a content. It has to have that robustness in it. It has to be good in its features, has to be innovative, has to be different, has to be unique. And it has to be approachable as well. And this is one key aspect of being human as a brand. What is human brand? What is humanized brand? Brand in the past, if we learn marketing classes and business lectures and all that, they teach us in the past to, if you want to sell to someone, hide your weakness and then promote your strength. That's what they said. And so when you do interviews, you ask people, what's your weakness? And you try to turn your weakness into strength, and you said, I'm a very detail-oriented person, so sometimes I spend too much time on things, right? It tells people that you have weakness, but it tells them also it's a strength. So you try to hide that weakness all the time. But that's not really a good thing right now, because it's all transparent. They know your weakness. And a brand that's too good to be true, a brand that's too perfect, is a fake brand in the minds of the customer. A research done by a colleague of mine in Hakuodo in Japan and in Southeast Asia said that for one customer who is for a group of customer who is Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they spotted that when they try to look for videos on YouTube or look for videos online on Instagram or TikTok, they like low resolution videos. They like videos without filters. They like videos unedited because it's more authentic. And filters, editing, and everything else is a form of fake strength. You're trying to portray yourself as attractive physically, but it's not authentic. And so human brands are not worried about showing weakness, because if you're showing weakness, you are trustable, you are trustworthy, and you're real. You're not fake, you're real. And that's what I call by humanizing the brand. The brand shouldn't be afraid of showing weaknesses. A brand shouldn't be worried about apologizing in public for mistakes, for wrongdoings. That what creates the whole notion of human centricity in branding. And that's why you see in all the movies, James Bond and the newer ones, cars, Aston Martin, BMW, Mercedes, everything else is being crushed down in movies. They don't even show it as a real car anymore. It's crushed down into really wreck, and that's something that people want to see. They want to see brands that are vulnerable, and that is an authentic brand. And then content marketing, how to build curiosity, right? I'm just going to show the full slide here. You can do lots of things if you want to build curiosity. And the first starts with entertaining. And this goes by communication as well. If you're trying to sell something to people, if you're trying to market something to people, you entertain them first, because entertainment is the the easiest thing to get into your head. You love entertainment. You don't like to be sold on features. You like entertainment. That's something that easily goes into your head. After entertainment, you go education. This is step by step. Once they say, I like you, I want to hear more about it,
Mm.
educate them, educate them. And then you could pile in all sorts of information on top of that conversation. But then you move on to this. Inspire them. Just don't just talk about the product. Talk about people who are using it. Inspire them to saying, I've sold this to X number of people. A lot of people are actually using it. They're happy with it. Show them testimonials. Introduce them to your previous customers. Tell them that, show them cases and all that. Inspire them that you're not the first one to be attracted to this product. And then in the end, then do a convincing pitch. You sell them, convince them with brochures, product demo, and case study. Now, the biggest mistake that most marketers and salespeople do is that they go straight to convincing. And they go straight to convincing in door-to-door salesperson doing cold calls, for example. They go straight with the brochure and I'm going to do a presentation to you. I'm going to explain it to you. And they get rejection most of the time. Number three, omni-channel marketing. It's a combination of online and offline. If you want to build commitment, you have to be everywhere. Remember, 2/3 of the global transactions are actually hybrid. So you want to be in online channel and you want to be also in the offline channel. You want to be everywhere because you don't know when they will hop in from one channel to the next. Because maybe they know it first from the TV, they heard it from the TV, but then they are attracted to it because they see the mobile ad. Or maybe they try to talk with the chatbot, for example, but they're not happy with the answer because chatbot is very standard. So they call to the sales rep instead, and they're going to buy it in store and they're going to brag about it to their friends and family through Instagram and also through real life conversation. So you have to be everywhere because you don't know where your customer is going to be. And it's not just about building channel in both online and offline. It's also about integrating them. It's about tracking their journey. If they go to the store, uh, can you track whether they have visited our website or not, and vice versa? And that is the most important thing in omni-channel marketing. And of course, final piece of the puzzle is how to build affinity. Um, and affinity is coming to way of engagement. You have to engage them from time to time. And the single easiest way to build engagement is through mobile phone, because that's one product you will never leave behind. That's one product that is closest to you. Even when you're asleep, it's next to you, next to the bed. You sleep with it. You sometimes go to the bathroom with it. It goes with you everywhere. And because of that, it's the nicest media for you to use to basically engage people. So you can use mobile app, or can use social media for CRM, or can also use gamification. I'm not going to go through all one by one, but basically you have to engage them on a routine or regular basis every single day. So just final slide, upcoming book 5.0. Can't reveal too much about it yet. It's going to come out probably in January next year. Marketing 4.0 is a complex subject. We don't have enough time for it. So if you want to download the presentation, it's available in this link, bit.ly/ uh, capital letter MIS and then small cap marketing 4. It's case sensitive, so you want to write down this in case sensitive manner. So MIS marketing 4, you can download this. The link will stay active, so you can download it anytime you want. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And you see, uh, for the viewer, if you see the the YouTube live, you can also put the question if you have any question or the comment, and we will try to answer as many questions as possible. So you in the YouTube live, there's a column there, and you can write it down. And in the meantime, I would like to open the question for our panelists. And if you have any question, feel free to ask Iwan at this time. I think Puja have a question.
Yes. Hi, Iwan. So it's a very interesting presentation. One thing I learned today that you can give, don't open everything. You make something, something so people want to know more. I never thinking about that one. So yeah, but okay. I guess we are now our panelists in category what generation X. We are not generation Y, and we are not generation what do you call again? The old one. Yeah. So we are in the generation
Baby boomers.
X. Huh? What's that?
The baby boomers.
Yeah, the baby boomer. So we are generation X. Okay. Generation X now little bit about technology because we know both sides. We know when no internet, and now we know about internet. So that's why some of us still start to learn about Zoom, right? I want to share a little bit the what happened. Okay, is this some okay? One day my friends asked me go to outlet. I said, okay, we'll go to outlet. Why you want to go to outlet? Oh, I want to go to this store to try the shoes. But I just want to try the shoes in the store. But I will not buy there. I will buy online because they have sale online. I was surprised, huh? Is it common like that? I never thinking, I never know anything like that before. So my friends told me, okay, we go to the store. I say, why you want to go to the store and try the shoes and like the color? He said, yeah, I just go there, try the shoes, and if I like the color, I will just order online. I said, huh? Why you do that? But I guess I don't know if this is maybe it's a new trend for the people. The second experience I have, I just want to tell the story about my own experience. Okay, one of our friends named Yurita, she is trying to sell me land for the cemetery for my grave. So she started to approach me maybe like 6 months ago, but I keep running away because I don't want to talk about my cemetery, right? I don't want to talk about my cemetery. I mean, why I have to prepare my own cemetery? But uh, so she keep asking me, and she prepared the food. There's even one time I was trying to run away because I saw her, and it just happened that last week I saw so many people die with the COVID-19. So I was thinking maybe I should call her. Maybe I should decided to buy my own location, my own cemetery, my own burial ground. And yes, and sure enough, 3 days ago I contact her, and we go together, and I just buy my own. So when you start to do presentation, I start to reflect what kind of, in your opinion, the way she marketing her her product, with suddenly I make decision that I will buy. But I was thinking the first person I was thinking to buy is from her. It's not because she already showed me or something, but it's just because I feel that she already contacted me a couple times, but I didn't give any response. But this time I give response and I buy it right away, my location. So what do you think? Why this kind of what do you think about this marketing? Yeah, so I just try to make a relate this marketing with my situation. Thank you, Iwan.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, it's interesting in decision making. Sometimes you make decision based on one A or a few A's. So if you've known that salesperson before and you decided because that's the only person that has given you the information, you're basically deciding based on awareness only.
Oh,
Um,
this, yeah.
but if you have already put trust on her, we trust her, and if you actually have asked lots of questions and then you like the answer, you are convinced, then you probably gone through 3 A's, in the first 3 A's before you decide to act on it. So some people, for some products, like if you buy biscuits or if you buy candies, 1 A's is enough. You don't ask your friends which candy to buy because it's cheap. You don't have to think about it. It's simple decision making. You go to the store, you grab it, and you pay for it. It's as easy as that. But for higher ticket items, for big purchases like buying a car or deciding to buy a house, you have to go through lots of A's. And the biggest A's is the ask, the third one. And the bigger the item, the bigger the pricing, the higher the pricing of the product, the more you have to have a person you trust to counsel you, to give you recommendation, the right products and the right services you can actually purchase. I think that's my comment.
Iwan, thank you very much for that excellent presentation. I'm going to be brief and to the point. I did send out a chat message. You may have seen it, but I'll go ahead and repeat it for the audience. What are the main challenges of Indonesian marketing their products or services globally? Our audience tonight are probably all Indonesians. You're Indonesians. We don't often talk about ourselves, whether it's being shy or malu, or what are the, I think it's more important to hear the real challenges rather than how wonderful we are and how good we are. But what are our weaknesses from your perspective? For Indonesians that want to bring their product into the US as an example, or the vice versa for Indonesians, Americans that want to export to Indonesia. What could you share with us, and perhaps there is a lot, what are some of the main points that we could learn from you tonight? In terms of what do we need to do, rather than starting a company or having a product. But I think the biggest challenge is what are the challenges? We hear enough about successes, but we don't hear enough about the weaknesses that we as Indonesians have.
That is great.
Okay, got it. Thank you for the question. Yeah, I think there are some challenges, and there's a list of them, but I'm just gonna point out a few important ones that I believe are the most important. The first one is that if you build the product in Indonesia, you design it, you develop it for Indonesians, and then you try to export it in the later stage of the business, then you might have a problem because that product is Indonesia first. And not every product is welcome with global appeal because this might not be universal, might not have the right features for certain markets. So the first key to export a product that is being built in Indonesia is to understand the market you're going after. Market understanding is the basic of marketing. If you want to do proper marketing, you have to understand the market you're pursuing. And so that's one aspect. A lot of Indonesian products that I've seen are appealing for Indonesian. They have strong home base, have strong, large pool of fans locally, And then when they started to go overseas, that those strengths is gone because people don't see it the same way outside. If they're targeting diaspora or Indonesian living abroad, that might make sense, but that's a small market. If they're targeting other people in other countries living there, might not be having the same appeal. So that's one. The second one is you could build it for the local market. So you can go, if you want to export it to the US, for example, you're Indonesian, you can build that product ground up from the US. And the problem with that sometimes, again, is market understanding. As an Indonesian, you're not that sensitive to local culture, except if you're born there, if you're born and raised in the US, probably you're very American. But if you're like me, I spent only a few years in the US, traveling there back and forth for only a few weeks. You might not understand totally the local culture in those areas. So the first thing any good marketer will do is do market research. And market research, I don't mean like doing questionnaires and everything, but trying to live in your customer's shoe, try to live there, trying to understand how to behave, to understand what they look for in the product. And then you design it ground up, and then you sell it, and it's probably going to be more successful than without the consideration. So those are the two main aspects, right? The third one is something that a lot of people are talking about in terms of access, in terms of channel. They don't have the right channel, they don't have the right relationship, but that's something we can build on. That is always secondary to me, because in the digital world, access, channel, partners, relationships, it's something we can build easily. It's not as easy. I think 10 years before this, it's not as easy to build a relationship with local distributor or local players and getting into the store, getting into the distribution channel. It's not as easy. Today, it's a lot easier, even though it's still expensive to do that. But it is a lot more approachable because the largest retailer in the world are online retailer at this point. So you don't have that shelf listing fee and all of that. So you have that restriction, or you have that boundaries removed with the digitalization. So to me, that's still a challenge, but it's a secondary compared to the two market understanding related challenges that I mentioned before.
Thank you.
We have a question from one of our viewer in Indonesia. Jonathan Gunawan has a question. He say, hello everyone, it's morning here. I have a question. What is the correlation of marketing 4.0 with marketing analytic, machine learning, and AI in marketing? Nice if I have a brief insight.
All right. Yeah. So big data, analytics, machine learning, AI, all of that will be discussed in Marketing 5.0. So that will be the upcoming book. The reason why we didn't put it in 4.0 is because we think that when we published the 4.0 2007, we wrote it in 2016. The market is simply not ready for all AI related stuff. It's already in experimentation. A lot of people are using AI in simple terms, in what we call in AI narrow application. Narrow application means using it in chatbots only, using it in automation, office automation and things like that. It's a very narrow application. And that is something we thought that's not yet mainstream, and we need a transitional concept. And that's why the subtitle of Marketing 4.0 is moving from traditional to digital. What we say traditional is Marketing 3.0. And that's the first of the trilogy. And then moving ahead to 5.0, we need a transitional concept, which is easier to understand, which is more relevant to most people. And so we talk about only the I should say, the basic technology in marketing 4.0. It's about social media, it's about search engine, it's about content marketing in digital world. It's very basic internet stuff. But as we move toward 5.0, we're going to talk about more advanced tech. And by advanced tech, I'm not only talking about artificial intelligence, we're going to talk about robotics, we're going to talk about sensor technology, how to use beacons in retailing. We're going to talk about natural language processing for voice tech. We're going to talk about sensors like face recognition. We're going to use tech like augmented reality, virtual reality, and all those things. Even we're going to talk briefly about blockchain as well. We're going to talk briefly about IoT as well. So those advanced tech is part of marketing 5.0. Even though we're writing it in 5.0, when we publish it next year, early next year, it's going to be something still narrow in terms of application. Not many people will find it relevant, but we think this is the time now. When we decided to write 5.0 this year, the trigger is really the pandemic. I mean, we think that the pandemic has forced us to go digital right away, and there's no time to wait. So that's the reason why we started to think about AI and everything else, because in this era of pandemic, everybody's looking for a touchless experience, something where you don't necessarily have to go face to face, but still get that intimacy that you're looking for, still get that relationship that you're getting with real marketer or real salesperson that you meet face to face. Hope that answers the question.
Okay. Any more question from the panelists?
Yes, one question. My video is frozen, but I can still talk. So here's the question, Iwan. What is marketeer?
What's that? What
is marketeer?
Yeah.
You have an organization, a group that meets every year,
okay.
I think.
Okay, so yeah, we have so Mark Plus. Talking about marketers, we cannot not talk about Mark Plus. So Mark Plus is an organization that is founded by Herman Kartajaya, actually in Surabaya. Then we kind of grow in Jakarta and other parts of Indonesia. We also branch out to Southeast Asia as well. We have 4 services: consulting, market research, and training. But the 4th one, the youngest one, is the media arm that we call Marketeers. So Marketeers is a media arm, the largest marketing media in Indonesia right now. So we have a physical magazine published monthly. We have e-magazine also published monthly with somewhat different content, with different interaction and user interface. We also have the website, so marketeers.com. That's one of the updated news websites for marketing, marketeers.com. And we also have presence in social media. So that's the media part. But in Marketeers, we also do event organizing. We hold big events. So big events means that we have, the biggest one will be usually in December. It's called Mark Plus Conference. It's organized by Marketeers. That's 5,000 people every day, every year. And last year we broke the record. Last year was 8,000. So it was the biggest in Southeast Asia. I think in Asia it's the biggest marketing conference. I think there's no other big conference that I know that is 8,000 people. But again, throughout the year we have smaller events, and by small we mean 1,000 people. We have 1,000 people event every quarter. So every quarter we have that Jakarta Marketing Week and other like the ASEAN Marketing Summit, those sort of events. So we do that. And during the pandemic, we kind of shifted the model a bit because we are an agile organization. We practice what we preach, right? I'm not a lecturer per se. I teach marketing in ITB, but I'm not a lecturer. I'm actually a practitioner. So when I teach people do this, do that, I'm actually doing it myself. So when we had this pandemic hitting everyone in the world, we kind of gathered quickly and we said to the team, hey, we have to show that we are resilient and we have to change our methods. So I told my team, okay, let's build an online event organizing team right away. So and I think in less than 3 weeks, we come up with the first online event, and that was successful. And we don't only use Zoom. I think we started to experiment with other online event organizing. We started with using, for example, I've probably heard of this, and they're not really popular, but they're really good. It's called Hopin. Hopin is an online event organizing that we use. It's a professional platform. The difference with Zoom is that Zoom is typically for meeting. The webinar is not as good. But in Hopin, you can actually have booth. People can open exhibition. They can have networking event. They can share business cards. So it's like in an actual event, an actual real event. And they also have, I think, a breakout rooms where people can just shift from one room to another and a breeze. Because in you have breakout rooms in Zoom, but it's not the same because it's not as frictionless as this platform we're using. We also experimented with a lot of broadcasting tools as well. So we're turning ourselves into a professional online event organizing as well. So that's part of what we do in Marketeers. We change business model from time to time. As I mentioned, the one that brings more value in terms of innovation is business model innovation or new customer experience. So we're completely practicing that in our own organization. I think that's it, Pajon. That's my
Thank you, Iwan.
This is Noctin. Can you hear me? I cannot get in, but I think I can talk, right?
Jane, I think there are questions in YouTube
Yeah,
too.
but I think not have a question.
Yeah, I have a question. Sorry that my video, for some reason, I cannot get in. I have a question regarding your marketing. I think I really like the presentation.
Okay, Iwan?
So wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. Jane,
Okay.
there are questions in YouTube.
Yes, I saw it, but, do you hear Ngocklin talking right now?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. I have a question regarding. Have you heard about TikTok
I
lately?
don't hear. Sorry.
Yes. I've
Okay.
heard. Yeah.
Oh, you heard. Okay.
We
go ahead.
Do you think it's any good we use the TikTok applying to the marketing system that you are having right now? What do you think about it?
Okay. Yeah. So TikTok is a next generation Instagram, in my view, right? At least they're having difficulty in the U.S. because I think President Trump wants to ban them from the U.S. I think that's quite fair, to be honest. I think that's quite fair because Facebook cannot enter China, Google can enter China, so why would they allow TikTok to go into the U.S., right? I think that's fair treatment, to be honest, my personal opinion. But aside from those, controversies, um, TikTok, in my opinion, is an Instagram created for the Generation Z. Well, Instagram is an appealing product for Gen Y because it has lots of filter. A lot of people are showing their best version. I mean, by best version is that they use a lot of makeup, they use a lot of filters, sometimes using slimming app as well, just to portray themselves the best that they can. And then they post it, and then it kind of gives them the pride of having to show. And that's why one of the most successful hashtag in Instagram is outfit of the day, because people are trying to show their personality, trying to show their outfit throughout the day. It gives them the pleasure of showcasing what they are. That's Gen Y, right? I think TikTok identified another trend after that because Gen Z, as I mentioned, they don't like all that, filtering, all that editing stuff. They want something more raw, something that is more authentic. And if you can see that now in TikTok, the most famous, most watched, the most liked videos are all raw. It's edited, of course, because they have great editing feature in TikTok. but it's mostly raw, and sometimes it's not even high resolution. It's not even shot with the best phone in the market. So in my view, that is giving us a different proposition for a lot of people. And the algorithm is simply new for people, right? Because you don't have to follow people. You just need to go for you page, and the artificial intelligence right away uh, recommend contents to you, the things that you like. And the accuracy of that AI so far has been great. I mean, a lot of people say, how do they know what I like? And when I watch this, they kind of, predict it. They have a very good predictive engine behind it that recommend the next video to watch. So that's one of the key strengths of TikTok. So in marketing, how do we use TikTok, right? TikTok doesn't have like a formal way of using the platform to sell, but it's an influencer-based media, which means that if some people have large followers, people can use them to influence others. And I mentioned in content marketing briefly that we have what we call inspiration, inspiring people. Inspiration is all, social media is all about inspiration, right? You follow, fashion stylists, you follow chef on Instagram because you follow food blogger on Instagram because you want to understand what they wear, what they cook, what they eat. You want to get inspired. So you know which restaurant to go to, which food to cook. You want to get inspiration for your own self. And that is what Instagram and TikTok is all about. You want to get inspiration to do things that you never thought possible. So in that sense, that's a very, very good influencing mechanism, right? If someone has a large follower on TikTok, they say, do this, buy that, and their follower will follow suit because that person, that figure that they follow is an inspiration to them. So that's how marketing in Instagram and TikTok is evolving, and we call it influencer marketing, or some other people call it KOL, or key opinion leaders. That's how that's how influencers make money, not primarily through ads like in YouTube. In YouTube, content creator gets more money from YouTube for ads instead of from the brands, right? But in TikTok and Instagram, most influencers get more money from the brands that sponsor them. They want to use their influence to persuade other people. I think that's all.
Yeah, it seemed that
I think we
Ngokting.
lost her.
Yeah, we lost Ngokting. She's
Yeah.
in the outside. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
me, yeah.
But while we're waiting, I still have a couple of questions from the
Okay.
YouTube.
It's good.
And first of all, okay, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
First, Jonathan just want to say thank you. He said, thank you, Pak Iwan. It's very useful insight. And I am enthusiasm to read the next launch of Marketing 5.0. Thank you also for sharing today's slide presentation. That's from Jonathan. And next, I have question from Ronald D. They have question, can Iwan explain more or give example about the application of augmented reality?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
Augmented reality. Okay. Yeah, so I think the most popular use of augmented reality is what IKEA is doing. So if you want to buy furniture in IKEA, you don't have to go to the store to visualize the product. You can simply use the application, and then in let's say an empty living room, you visualize that you want to put this couch or this sofa in this corner, and what you do is that you point that smartphone camera to that corner, and then in your screen, it visualizes the sofa in your corner with the exact measurement. And that's what augmented reality is about. It's about, and so that's why we call it augmentation, because it augments the reality. You see the world through the lens of your camera phone, which is deceiving actually, because the couch is not, the sofa is not actually in the corner yet, but when you see it from the lens, from the screen of your smartphone, you see it there. And so you can actually test products without actually buying it or going to the store to see it. And that's how IKEA has been doing it for many years now. Because especially during pandemic, not everybody can go to the IKEA store freely to see and test because it's probably risky. And so that is very useful for online e-commerce, right? So if you like that product, you can visualize it and you can see the measurement is really accurate. So you know whether it's too big or too small, whether the color scheme matches. And if you like it, you can just click on it and you buy it through the application. So that's what we call seamless or frictionless experience, because now you don't have to like go to the store and buy it online. You'd have to do web rooming or showrooming. It's simply doing one channel. You can complete everything, every single step. And there's so many other retailers using augmented reality for marketing, not only IKEA. I think a lot of big box retailers in the US, Lowe's and everything else, they Target, they use it for in-store navigation. In-store navigation means that if it's a big box retailer, it's so big, you get lost sometimes in it, and you don't know where to buy this product, especially in hardware stores, right? You don't know where this product is, so use your smartphone screen, and then there's a imaginary virtual line that directs you to that aisle, specific aisle where you have your products that you need. So that's the use of augmented reality in marketing. I think there's so many other uses, and they're starting to think about it more because it's an affordable technology. It's not as expensive as many people think. Marketers use it. Marketers, my magazine, use it a while back. I think it's not as popular as today, but when we use it in our magazine, for example, if someone point their smartphone to our magazine, instantly there's a screen popping out that shows a brief video about what the article is about. So it gives us an omni-channel experience. It's a magazine, but it can work as a TV, because if you don't have time to read the passage, you don't have time to read the article, we allow people in our magazine, they just have to point it out, and then a video pops out to explain what the article is about. It's a lot easier for many people who prefers TV format instead of text. So those are just some examples. There are so many other examples on how we use AR in marketing.
Okay. Thank you. Any question from the panelists? I think you put dying to ask some question.
No, actually no. I just go ahead with the people from the YouTube.
All right. Any more question from the panelists at this time?
Yeah.
Okay. There's another question. I think this is continue from the question from Ronald. Thank you for the explanation. Is there a technology that allow customers point to an ad without downloading the app? How can we get customer data from it?
Can you repeat that again? What was that? What's the question?
Yeah, so the question is coming from Ronald again. So he says related to the first question about the augmented reality. The question is there a technology that allow customer point to an ad without downloading the apps? So how can we get customer data from it?
How to point people to an app without using the app? Is that the question?
Without downloading the app, and how can we get the customer data from it?
I'm not aware of that technology that is exactly like that. But you know, if you do digital marketing and your landing media is application, you need people to download the app to use it. But of course, a landing media is not always an app. A landing media can also be a web page. So if you have an advertising that shows up on Google search or Instagram ad, you click on it, and when you click on it, you need a landing page, and it can direct you to an application for you to download and use it, or it can it can lead to a page, a web page, whereby you can also have some interaction on that page. So it doesn't always about an application per se. And to add to that notion, I think application. A lot of people are they want to build application, but that's not necessarily always the best scenario to do.
Okay. I think this is
Yeah.
what he tried to clarify. He said, let me clarify. Point the camera to advertisement, like similar to QR code or advertising on billboard or paper or magazine. That's what he say.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that is again what I told you is that you have this mechanism, and the mechanism is always the same. The media is different, but the mechanism is always the same. There is an advertising, and that advertising could be a digital version in your application, or in app notification, in Google search, in Instagram, or it could be an actual poster. It could be a billboard. It could be an out-of-home poster, or print ads, right? It could be anything. It could be print ads on magazine and media. That's the first part. That is the trigger. I call it the trigger. But then it triggers an action, right? It triggers an action. An action is called a call to action. It's something you have to do when you see it. You want to know more. It calls for a certain action. And sometimes the action is that scan me, click me, or go to this page, call this number. It could be anything, right? It doesn't have to be a QR code, doesn't have to be a button to click, or it doesn't have to be a number and everything else. So you can choose those things. If you're talking about, okay, there's a poster and then you like it, there's a QR code, you can scan it. And when you scan it, that's a trigger, right? And if you use iPhone, you don't have to use a QR scanner to scan the QR code, because if you just open your camera, it works as a QR scanner right away. So you don't have to download QR scanner. You just use camera app, and then you scan it, and it will pop up, right? There's a message popping up. Open this web page, open this application, download this page. That's called a call to action. So if you say, okay, there's a poster, there's a QR code, I'm going to scan it, and then there's a message popping up. It says open in Safari, for example. If you use iPhone, click on it, you go into a page, right? That's actually quite basic technology. It doesn't, it's not really sophisticated, but the whole mechanism works that way. There's a trigger, and there is a call to action to follow up that trigger. And the follow-up could be anything. It doesn't have to be an app. It could be a web page. It could be a call to a call center, and everything else. It could be anything. Hope that explains the.
Yeah. I think you answered his question. Thank you. Any more question from the panelists or at this time? If not, I have question for you. I just want to ask something. Like, I understand that you graduated as an engineer major. You have a bachelor degree in engineer. So can you briefly tell us what make you interested about marketing field? Because usually people think engineer is not marketing people, right? So let us know.
Okay. Okay. So I became a marketing person by accident, really. When I graduated from the engineering school, I wanted to be a banker. So that was my aspiration at that point. And really, at that young age, I don't really have real aspiration, just because some of my friends, of my professors said, Iwan, being a banker is probably the best thing you can do. So I said, okay, be a banker, right? So I applied to a bunch of banks in Indonesia. I didn't get a call, not even a single call from those banks. And those banks are now my clients in Mark Plus. So that's something weird to to experience. So I didn't get any calls from the banks. I actually got a lot of offers from an engineering field. I was almost I almost took that chance to become an oil field engineer, going overseas and looking at oil rigs and analyze, explore oil and gas. But I didn't take that chance, and I ended up with Mark Plus. I didn't know too much about marketing. Of course, in industrial engineering, that's the closest engineering degree you can get to business, because we have marketing classes in industrial engineering. So I have some brief exposure to marketing, but I don't really know what it is until I joined Mark Plus. And then from that on, has been a rocky journey, of course, for any new recruits, right? I don't know what to expect. But as time grows, I think I love it even more. And so I learned a lot about marketing from experience. I don't learn from formal education. I learn from experience. Uh, and then that's before I decided to go to Kellogg for a true formal education on marketing.
Great.
I think that's it.
Thank you so much for the explanation. Maybe we can have one last question for Pak Iwan before we wrap it up. Anyone?
How about from Mr. Narikawa, maybe? Because in the panelists, he's the only one who has some comment, anything.
I asked him already privately.
Oh,
Yeah.
no? Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe
So-
closing statement from Pahari.
I think okay.
Any more question? If not, I just want to thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your marketing strategy with us. And it's just so much information that I get today. And we look forward to applying what we learned to our businesses. And we cannot wait to read your next book, Marketing 5.0, next year, available in Amazon, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
So when Iwan come to LA to visit us, you can stay in my place. Yeah, our Pahari's place.
Thank you, Pak. Thank you.
Station already for you.
For sure next year, Pak.
All right.
You been to LA before, Iwan? Have you been
No,
to
I've never been. I've never been. But I've been to that part of the U.S., but not LA.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah.
You're
Welcome.
always welcome here. We have a couple of people here ready to host you.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to thank you again for your time, and thank you for all the panelists for your time, our viewers, our members and non-members for joining this event. And be safe, and everyone have a good evening. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hello?